What is happening? What do you see?
Just blank.
Okay. That's absolutely fine. It's just blank. Just darkness.
It's not dark, but it's just blank.
Okay. What are your impressions?
Stillness and quiet.
How are you feeling in this place?
Relaxed. A real serenity.
Can you feel or sense your body or form?
No.
Okay.
I don't see it.
Okay. If you could step outside of yourself and look at your form, what would it look like?
Well, it looks like me. But it's younger me.
Okay. What kind of emotions are coming up for you right now?
I just feel very peaceful.
Okay. So your form is you, but as a younger you?
Yes.
What do you think is different about that, the younger you? Just you at a younger age?
Yes. But it's not all of the me that you're talking about.
Okay.
It's combined me.
What is combined? All the parts of you?
All my selves.
Okay. So all combined into one?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just total peace?
Yes.
Just the feeling of wholeness?
Yes, just I just don't really know the word to describe the way it feels.
But it's a very peaceful feeling?
Oh, yes.
So, are there many parts that have come together to combine to make this part of you? Or to make this whole you?
It's all the parts of of all the different lives that I've lived.
So you've actually been able to take all of the different lives that you've experienced and bring them all into one?
Yes, all of those lives have come from this original me. But they've just been different. Each and every one have been different. But they've all been this one being, just in different states.
So in each of these states, you've learned lessons and had, different things that you've, knowledge that you've gained, and you've brought it all back into this one whole.
Right. And I've done this many times. And I always bring all the things that I've learned back to this one me.
Can you communicate with Source in this state?
Yes.
And Source communicates with you?
Yes.
What kind of things do you communicate with Source when you're in this state?
Things about other knowledge that I need to gain, other things that I need to do to build upon this self.
So each time that you come back as your whole self, you're able to look at it and see what kind of improvements, what kind of things you can do.
Right, and the things that I need to still do.
So it's a decision-making process of what maybe you could do next to improve.
Right, yeah. It helps you to make a plan and of what you need to do to make yourself more whole.
So what are you, at this time, what do you see that you could do when you've come back this time to be this whole self? What are you thinking about would be the thing for you to do to improve?
Well, there's still so much work to be done there. So much more to be learned and gained. In this state, I'm still very young. I still have so much to learn and so much more to add to myself.
So you're still very young in your evolution?
Yes.
Is this the state that you're in now at this time? At this stage of your evolution?
Yes.
So you still have plenty of experiences to gain more knowledge. You still have more to do.
Oh, yes. I think many more before I reach the stage that Source has set for me.
So the stage that Source had set for you, would you consider yourself maybe a fourth of the way there, or halfway, or not even a fourth of the way, since you're young?
Maybe halfway there. Myself has been around a long, long time. And longer than even time like here on Earth has been counted.
But you've been around before Earth was even created, or
Well, before
life was on Earth.
Before this Earth was created, yes.
So time was counted on this Earth, but even before the Earth was created, there was nobody really keeping up with the time. Or is there even time?
There's really not, no. time as we know it is just really so different from the factual. I meant, we measure it in a way that really is different.
We measure it according to the revolutions of the Earth around the sun, right? As our days, and how many hours are in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really the way it should be measured, or the way it would be as looking at it as a whole.
Well, that's the way that it has to be measured there. But that's not all of it. That's just a very small part of it.
So our time here is a very small part of the whole amount of time.
Yeah, there's so much more. There's so much more that we don't know. That we don't know when we're in that state. There's so much more that we don't know.
But when you're in the state that you are now, where you've come back all together as a whole.
We are aware, yes.
Okay. So in that state, when you come back as a whole, what, if you were to try to, using our time as a guide of how we've been, we count the days and the years according to the revolutions around the sun, how many years would you think that it had been in total since we were all created?
It is just a very minuscule, it's hardly even countable. It's
almost like it wouldn't even count as a day.
Right.
Okay. So our millions of years or whatever that we know of, that, back to where there were dinosaurs and...
Mm-hmm. Well, even when you say millions of years, I meant that's really just it's a measure. It's a worldly measure, but it's not. There has to be some way for us to measure things in the time that we're in, but it's really hard to explain.
But it's not really like that everything's happening in the now, right?
Right.
So it's not really a measurable thing, but in our conscious awareness, it has to be measured.
Yes, our conscious needs that, but it's really not a true measure.
So it'd really be no way to compare it, but it's just a tiny, tiny amount of...
There's really no way to really compare it that I can really explain.
Okay. So we just know that this is a tiny amount.
But we really don't have to worry about that. It's just not something we really have to worry about.
So, okay. So when you come back into this state of wholeness and you are able to think about and communicate with Source about the things that you want to accomplish, to evolve to get to the state that Source has set for you, that is it a resting time also?
It is a resting time. It's a time to rest and regroup and plan and get direction, and it's just regrouping.
So after you regroup, what happens after that?
Well, you determine a plan that will, where you need to go, what you need to be, what you need to do to gain other abilities or understanding that you need to add to yourself. And so you make a plan to do that, and then you carry it out.
So a plan is in what you're going to reincarnate. Like if you're going to be male or female, or
Right. You decide, with help and direction, you decide what sort of, whether, how you need to go back to the earth to gain what you need to know, what circumstances, what things you need to go through, what things that you need to learn. There have to be circumstances that occur, and so you go into the best ways, the best self to be able to learn these things. It's very hard to explain.
Okay. So, but when you come in and very, very best self to learn the certain things that you need to learn, you forget your plan when you get here.
Right. You, once you start that journey, you mostly forget, not completely. There are still little things that will happen that will click on some little memory, and whether you know whether it came from or not, in fact, you probably won't know where it really came from, but you don't completely forget. You never completely forget it.
So it's just kind of overshadowed.
Right.
In a way.
Yeah.
And then things can trigger the memory.
Right. Well, in order to accomplish the things that you need to accomplish on this journey, you have to forget the plan. You have to forget, the source of why you're doing this. I don't know, it's just very hard for me to explain really how it works.
So you can't know why that the things are happening the way they're happening.
Right. These things happen to help you or to make you grow or whatever, and it's how you deal with these things. It's how you deal with them, whether or not you have growth or regression.
So if you deal with them in a positive way or in the correct way, then you could have growth. But if you deal with them in a negative way, you could actually regress.
Not always. That's not always true. Sometimes just the opposite is true. It takes making bad decisions to help you to grow.
Okay. So sometimes making the bad decisions actually is
Right.
what helps you to grow. Because you learn a lot from making...
Because you learn from making bad decisions too.
Because if we came in here and we did everything right, and everything was like gravy and nothing ever went wrong.
Well, if we did everything right every time and made every right decision every time, you know, we wouldn't really need to come back.
So you would have to be in that final stage.
Right.
To be to the point where everything would be pretty much you would remember.
Right.
You say that you go back to this state. I've read somewhere that you can actually merge, like your higher self and your the part of you that's here in this incarnation, or while you're conscious, you can do the meditation and different things that you can actually bring that into yourself, and it can help you.
Right. Yes. Yes, that's the whole point of it. Really is building on this true self. That's what these experiences are all about.
Okay. Let's see. Another thing we wanted to know about was, we were talking earlier about we were talking about like the sunsets and the sky being bluer than normal, and seeing these news reports that it's some kind of sand from the Sahara, and we were talking about chemtrails and things, and wondering what is in those and what the purpose of those are. Do you know the answer to that?
Not entirely. I know that I am aware of them, and I know that they're a source of blocking. I know that they're a source of trying to hold back knowledge and enlightenment. But I'm not really, that's really all I know. But I know it's really something that is real, and most people don't even notice it, but it's very prominent now. Especially, it seems more and more lately. It seems to be stronger, and I think that's because more and more people are waking up, more and more people are opening their eyes, more and more people are realizing that there's more to this world than this world. And there are sources who want to prevent people from learning these things. And I think that's what that's all about. But it's very prominent, very strong right now, but most people aren't even really aware of it.
So the people are waking up, but that's what's supposed to happen, right?
It is supposed to happen, but there are sources who do not want that to happen. They don't want this waking up. They don't want people to grow, and they want to keep information away. And so that is one of their methods. There are many methods, but that's one of them.
Why would they want to keep information away? Is there like a reason? Is it like a threat to them in some way, or for people to wake up and have this information?
I really am not
And that's just what I
I've
was
really
thinking.
not learned what their reasoning is and why they would want people to be held back. I really don't know why or even what the actual source is. I just know that there is one, and I'm not really sure of what their intentions are in this.
Is it important? Is it something that we should be concerned about, or is it something that we should not really worry that much about?
It's not anything that we should worry about, because even though there are these negative forces at work, the positive forces are always going to overcome.
Good always wins.
They will always win. It's like the good and the bad, the white hat and the black hat, the good guys, the bad guys. Because the bad guys don't have the original source on their side, they're never going to win. They may slow things down, but they're never really going to overcome or take over or prevent this progress. So they can slow it down, but they can never ever stop it from happening.
What are things that we could do, like me, myself, and other people who are trying to help people to wake up and see and get to ask for and obtain the information? What are some things that we could do to help with that?
Keep yourself close to the source. Keep yourself open to learning new things. Read, meditate, watch and learn from others who are more advanced. Learn from where you're concerned. Learn from the sessions that you do. Just keep yourself open and as close to the source, and that'll keep you opened up. And meditation is very important. You need to make sure you take time for that. But those would be the things that would help.
What about certain things like eating, drinking, or certain things like that? Is there anything, those kind of things, that can help you to stay closer to source?
I think that some people are more open to knowing what helps and what hurts. And in your case, you are more aware, I think, of what brings you down or what lifts you up, as far as the things that you ingest. I think you know what to do.
And I know that there's certain things I can't ingest. I have no choice.
Right.
And I kind of think that was planned, but I don't know. Because it just seems like every time I turn around, I can't eat meat and I can't eat dairy now. So, but that's okay.
Okay, well, you know that. And so staying away from those things. Of course, helps and enlightens and opens you up, because you're not poisoning your body with things that hold you back.
So some of these things are actually keeping people from being aware or gaining the knowledge. Some of the things that...
Oh, absolutely. People overindulge in so many ways. And that blocks your connection to the source who helps you to grow. But it's like these things become an addiction, and for a reason, because this is another way that this force keeps people down.
Yeah, and you see all these things like our whole life we've been programmed to believe that vegetables are gross. I mean, I've always loved vegetables, but it's like in all the shows, movies, TV shows, the kids don't want to eat their broccoli, and it's almost like they're promoting that. Somebody is, whoever, but they're promoting that green things are gross, you want to eat, this other stuff, steak or bacon. Mm-hmm. Bacon is pushed like... Bacon is like the best thing in the world, according to...
Oh, I know, bacon is my favorite thing, but yeah, the media is very controlling.
But they're controlled, right? The media is controlled. So, like, they have a job, but they're like kind of... I don't think each individual person that reports or does whatever has this agenda to try to keep people. I don't think it's their agenda. I think they're following an agenda of somebody.
Right, exactly, yeah, you're right.
So, but I got my wake-up call a few years ago to not pay attention to the media. When Michael Jackson, when the documentary came out and all that happened with him, I figured out really fast that they were making up stuff, and that helped me a lot to kind of open my eyes and wake up. So,
well, you've always heard, never believe everything you hear or read, and only half of what you actually see. Mm-hmm. Or less. So, it's that's just the way it is. You can't trust other people to always give you correct information, especially the media, I think.
I think that's why it's so important to go inside and to do sessions like this, or to meditate, mm-hmm. which I'm still not really good at, but I do listen really close right before I fall asleep and when I first wake up. I try to pay attention for any kind of messages or dreams. Mm-hmm. Even dreams, I think I got most of my messages in dreams my whole life. Even if I don't remember them consciously, I think I get a lot of messages in dreams.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know how to discern. Like when I listen to something on YouTube or read something, it's almost like I am immediately turned off by certain things, and then certain things I'm drawn to, and I follow that. I follow that guidance. But a lot of people don't have that, so then they're drawn to things, or they watch things that they probably shouldn't be watching, which kind of sets them back. But it may become like what you were talking about earlier, the decisions they're making, they can either regress or...
Yeah, they're allowing other people to control what they learn, how they feel about things. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to learn to open yourself up to being able to discern what's good and what's not.
So you need to like open yourself up to Source and have that close connection with Source that will help with that.
Right.
So it starts with each individual person creating that relationship, that connection, and trusting
Right.
in that, the higher self, the guides, you know, the things that happen, that they know, that they get a gut feeling, and just follow that. And when they do, they can, it just gets easier and easier to discern the things that aren't true. You know, when you are hearing something from somebody, and whether or not that it's real or made up, or they have some other underlying motive for telling it.
Right. Yeah. You have to develop your own bullshit meter. You know, you have to and so many people aren't able to, they haven't opened themselves up to enough to trust what they think might be true. They think they have to be fed this information by other sources, and that's not the way it's supposed to work.
Well, it's kind of like the Sahara dust making the Alabama sunset so beautiful. There was something about that just really, like, just sounded so weird to me. And then I saw the Florida dust, or the African dust in Florida, and it just seemed so weird to me. And the first thing that went through my head was, what is this covered up? And so I haven't figured that one out yet, but there's something really, like, I'm real leery of what I read in the news anyway, but I had just been noticing how beautiful the sky was, and, you know, I kind of thought it was because of the way that the earth is, you know, rotating, or not rotating, but going in like an elliptical shape, and like parts of the space that we're in or something, you know, and then we get these news articles about some dust from the Sahara, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, that is them putting some kind of negative thing on something that they just pull out of the air, you know, Sahara dust, you know, and then a lot of people are going to buy it, but
I hadn't figured out in my brain why. Like, what would be the purpose of that? I mean, I understood the article about how they were going to start spraying these chemtrails to try to change, you know, reverse climate change. Reverse climate change, and I understood the reason for that, because they know people are kind of noticing, and they're like, okay, we got to have some reason that we're doing this with the chemtrails. But I don't understand the Sahara dust or the African dust. And I'm like, what? I mean, maybe they're still just trying to keep people from seeing that there's more to it.
Exactly.
So they're just coming up with these reasons
exactly,
for this beautiful sky that, I mean, just the past week or so, the sky has been just gorgeous. And I just thought, well, maybe they're just coming up with a reason.
Well, when they throw in this Sahara dust theory and everything like this, that just puts a negativity on this beauty.
And maybe it'll make people stay inside and quit looking at it because they don't want to breathe the dust or something.
Right.
It's like the fear of storms, you know, to make people go inside and not, because we were talking about that you can kind of feel the energy when there's a storm. It just feels good. And most people are afraid. of storms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know storms can be dangerous, but I mean, most people are deathly afraid. And I think they're beautiful. And I mean, I love to hear the thunder and see the lightning and feel the energy in the air when there's a storm. And I think that's a connectedness. And I think
It is.
if you go hide out in your house and get in the bathroom, I mean, I know if it's a tornado or something dangerous, you need to be safe. But
Well, the tornado's a whole different ball game. Yeah.
But just a little storm like came through earlier, I'm wanting to be outside where I can hear it and
Mm-hmm.
see it and feel it.
Feel that energy because it's just so strong in the air during a storm. All this, and it's all positive energy. People think of storms as negative, but they're really it's really some very positive energy. Except when they turn nasty, and in the case of tornadoes or whatever. But yeah, they're a good thing.
What about all these tornadoes? Is there a reason for the tornadoes and the hurricanes, or is that just a natural thing that's always happening?
It's just a natural progression. It's just things like this have happened over and over the years. People talk about climate change and all this, but they're not looking at the big picture. They're looking at a very narrow scope of things. They're not looking at the big picture. If they did, they would see that all this has happened over and over and over again, and it's just a cycle. It's just a cycle. And
It seems to have been way more floods and storms like this, I guess, just in this past few months, and I just wondered if it was just like part of the earth evolving, or...
It is. A lot of it is that, the changing earth, but it's not... It's really not a negative thing, although it does cause problems, obviously, but it's really not a negative thing, and it's not something that's not happened before. All this stuff has happened before. Nobody just remembers it. So it's nothing new.
Just seems to be more, I guess, dramatized. I don't know.
Well, that's it. And we have a stronger media presence than now, and who the media presents this news, and they present it with their own little perspective. And, these things happened before. We just didn't know about it because we didn't have the media to jump on it and tell us about it. But all this has all gone on forever. It's just a cycle.
And that could just be another way of them just throwing something negative out there.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Because they seem to like negative better than positive for some reason. I think we've come to a tipping point, though. I see so many more people waking up, as we say it, or just really seeing things that they didn't used to see, or understanding things differently. And I guess it's just because it's supposed to happen, and it's just happening.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it is. As time goes on, more people reach a state where they have an understanding, and they know that there's more, but they've just never really been in a state of mind to recognize it. But more and more people are beginning to do that now. And that's also a part of this of the way the earth is evolving. It's all together. It's all built in together. It's all making, the evolving earth is making these things happen, and as these things happen, it evolves the earth more. So it's a combination, but that's the way it's supposed to happen.
What about the things that seem to be waking a lot of people up is what they call the Mandela. It's just been in effect where it just seems like things are changing. Just some little bitty changes, just like the spelling of a word or a word in a book, like a title, or little things that just seem to change, or the way something's spelled. The Berenstain Bears, for instance, is the one that caught my attention because I read the book when I was 4, and I know it was spelled with an E. But all these little things that are changing, and people are talking about jumping timelines and all these things, is that part of just to wake people up?
It's all part of this same evolution of the earth, and it is definitely happening. And I really don't know why. I don't know why. I'm not really privy to that information, but it is definitely happening. But the reason for it, I'm just not aware of that. I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, some people seem to think it's like a left-brained, right-brained thing, because it seems like the changes have went to being less creative. Like the thinker statue, he had his fist on his forehead where his third eye would be, and now his fist is on his chin. So that would be like the creativity in that, or the going from the right-brained thinking, and it's almost like it's a shift in the creativity.
Mm-hmm. That really could be part of it. I am, like I said, I am not really privy to that information. I think we're seeing more and more where people are not just left brain, right brain, but both sides are equally strong, and perhaps that has something to do with it. I don't know. But
So you think it's the change in the way we're thinking that makes us notice these things? Or do you think that these things have really changed? I kind of felt like it was just a cool thing for people to go, okay, that's pretty cool. So there is more to this.
oh yeah, there is more to it, and there is absolutely something to it, but I really have no explanation for it. Like I said, I'm just, that's not something that I've been made aware of at this point. I know it exists, but I don't know why.
Is there anybody here that in our presence that are on our teams that might know the answer? Somebody you could ask that might have any more information about it? That seems to be a huge thing. I don't know if it's kind of a distraction or if it's just a wake-up thing. But it seems to be a huge thing nowadays that a lot of people are really interested in. And it can get into a lot of fear. A lot of people get into this fear-based thing about it, which I try to stay away from because, you know, that it's some organization that's causing it, that they're doing things they shouldn't be doing or something.
It's nothing to be afraid of. It's just, and I don't see anybody who really has any more, I don't see anyone available who really has any more information about this.
Okay. Thought I would ask. Never hurts to ask.
Right.